Canyon County, it is a cornucopia of agriculture, and many farmers focus on sustainable processes to keep their industry booming for years to come. So we took a trip to the outskirts of the 2C, and I really mean outskirts. We were far out there. And we visited with one farmer to hear his vision of a lasting practice. Paul, you have a lot of land. How many acres here on your farm?
So we own roughly around 1,500 acres, and then we have another 3,500 acres that we custom farm for a couple dairies.
How many crops do you grow?
I think there's around 6 or 7.
6 or 7. What are your main staples?
So alfalfa seed and the sugar beets are our main staple, and then we have garden beans and mint and onion seed and wheat.
How long have you been doing this?
So the first year of farming on my own was in 1982, and I've been with my dad ever, since I was born.
So you grew up as a farmer?
Yeah.
It's in your blood?
Yeah, never knew any different.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad. So.
I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing. When it comes to farming, though, it's important that we are able to make this sustainable, right? Not only to support farmers, but also to support the land so it can continue to give back to you. So what do you do as a farmer to make sure that that happens?
Oh, we watch what we use as chemicals and try to use the beneficial insects out there. We also use cover crops to keep the land from blowing or have dust. And the rotation is important of different crops, and you're taking care of your ground for the next generation.
And how important is rotation? Explain for those who are not very familiar with farming, why is it important to rotate out crops?
So by changing crops, you're able to keep the disease out of, maybe there's a disease that affects the beets but doesn't affect other crops. And so by rotating it, you minimize the amount of disease that's in the field for those crops. And then each crop takes something out of the soil, and what if it's nutrients, or maybe it takes some character of the soil. And so by scattering it out, you keep everything in a balance. And I really believe you get better crops that way.
You mentioned drip irrigation. How important is that process for growing your crops?
I think it's very important. I don't know that the economics for all crops is there to sustain it in everybody's world. In my world, it works well because of our high cost of water. And I've done drip for almost 30 years, and it works very well for us. We do more and more every year. Really, instead of going to pivots or linears under wore-out systems, we're going to drip.
Yeah.
And we're able to actually produce better crops.
That's great. And then also, too, I imagine that cuts your water usage.
Yeah, it reduces it by almost a third.
Wow, yeah. And we hear too, over and over and over again, the importance of bees. And it's obvious why bees are important to farmers. But as a farmer yourself, tell me your experience with working with bees and what we can do to make sure that we're maintaining healthy bee populations.
We haven't done anything different than what we've normally done.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always have taken care of pollinators. And I mean, just watch what you spray, and be careful. There's certain times when you spray and when you don't, and I think that's and you have the bees removed when you're done with them, because the beekeepers will take them to safer places. And so we have a very good relationship with our beekeeper and are able to work those situations out. Do
you think, though, that the non-farmer also has a bit of a responsibility and a role in helping to keep bee populations healthy?
Oh, definitely. I mean, they need to watch what they spray. They need to watch at what time of the day they spray. And it isn't just farms, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
The homeowners.
And it's something to think about too. I mean, because it's easy, I think, when you don't live in a farm setting, you really haven't had the experience to be out here in this beautiful country to see all the hard work. Like you said, you have no hobbies. This is what you do, Paul. This is your life. You are growing produce and products for people at home to eat and to live, and they just go into a supermarket and they buy it off a shelf. But for them to understand their responsibility too, to make sure that you can do your job to the best of your ability for generations to come, is really important. Awesome. What's the biggest sugar beet you've ever grown?
Well, it isn't the size, you know. you want, you know, the bigger isn't always better. It's a little smaller, a little more uniform.
Yeah.
So I can't really answer the biggest one I've ever had.
I saw some huge ones in there though.
Yeah.
Like
that's a little larger than normal, but it's close.
yeah.
So.